Epic Universe's opening timeframe has been a bit up in the air lately. Originally, Universal stated the park would open in summer 2025, but recently that date has been changed. With the full reveal of this park earlier this year, Universal silently removed summer from that date, simply stating the park will open in 2025. However, a recent development found by Orlando Park Stop suggests that this change may be because the opening was pushed forward, not pushed back. On the Superbold podcast, Executive Creative Director of Epic Universe Steve Tatum suggests the park could open at the beginning of 2025. In fact, he specifically states that the park will open before next summer. In this video, I want to examine that statement and argue why this change could or could not happen. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy, and let's get started. First, let's talk about Steve Tatum himself. As I said before, Tatum is the Executive Creative Director of Epic Universe, which essentially puts him in charge of the creative end of things. As far as I can tell, he's not necessarily involved in the corporate end of things, meaning he probably doesn't get the final say in when exactly this will open. However, at the very least, he's probably involved in conversations about this park's opening. Not only that, but he likely knows how far along this project is, considering he's overseeing the creative end of it. All of that is to say, while he himself probably isn't the one to make the decision about when this park will open, he probably does know about the internal conversations about this park's opening. There's another factor to consider though. None of this has been officially stated by Universal themselves. This wasn't in a press release or an official statement or anything like that. This seems to have been more of a casual conversation where Tatum was discussing where this park was at and what people can expect. If Universal were confident about a pre-summer opening, they probably would have made it public by now. Currently though, it's just too early to say for sure. Universal changing the summer 2025 opening timeframe to just 2025 can be seen as a good sign, but it could just as easily be seen as Universal hedging their bets. Who knows what could happen between now and then? There's also the matter of construction. As you may have seen from photos and videos, construction seems to be moving pretty well. There's already detailing being added to several lands, and many rides look to be adding their final touches. I wouldn't say we're incredibly close to this park being complete, but by the end of the year I could certainly see it being done. Something to keep in mind, however, is ride testing. Ride testing is absolutely vital, not only for the safety of the guests, but also for the operations of the park. These rides need to be as reliable as possible before opening. Of course, when it comes to a new theme park, there's always some downtime expected, but at the very least, you want to avoid those issues as much as possible. We've already seen all the outdoor coasters testing, which seems to be a good sign for progress on this park. Another thing to consider is that Universal seems to be playing it safe with most of these rides. Mock Rides and Intamin have both built throw coasters around the world, and these rides in particular don't seem to be trying anything too out of the ordinary. The dark rides are similarly less risky. The Universal Monsters ride should be using a variation of the Kuka arm ride system found on Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, which should hopefully mean it doesn't run into too many issues. The Ministry of Magic Dark Ride should also be a variation on Spider-Man Islands of Adventure, although it should be a fair amount more advanced than that one. Both of these dark rides still have a good chance of downtime, but if they're testing as much as the outdoor roller coasters have been, we should be in a good spot for 2025. As for the other rides, Mario Kart has already been built at 2 other Universal parks, along with Yoshi's Adventure over in Japan. However, while both of these rides should likely do alright, there is some concern about Minecart Madness. Originally, this Donkey Kong ride was meant to open at Universal Studios in Japan in the spring of this year. Now though, the project seems to have faced some technical difficulties, currently being planned to open sometime this year. With Florida's version of the ride already starting to test, hopefully these issues are solved by the end of this year. However, if they persist in the coming months, I could see this being a potential issue for the park into 2025. I should also mention the status of the road work around Epic Universe. In case you didn't know, there are 2 projects surrounding Epic Universe that should be completed before the park officially opens. The first is a raised traffic circle on Kirkman Road, which should help ease congestion for both those going to and leaving the park. This project doesn't seem quite as far along as the rest of Epic Universe, although progress does seem to be moving at a decent pace. There's a similar project under construction on Sand Lake Road, which also looks to be a bit behind the park itself. Both of these projects are vital infrastructure for this park and the city surrounding it, so I seriously doubt the resort will open without these roads complete. We don't know for sure how far along these 2 projects are, but if you've ever lived in a city with major road work, you know it can seemingly last forever. I'm not saying either of these will delay the park or anything, but it's something to watch out for. But let's put all that aside for a second. Let's assume that it'll be feasible for Universal to open this park in March of next year. there are some benefits to this. First and foremost, it means more money. The park being open an extra few months at the start means that Universal gets an extra few months of money from the park being open. Apart from that, it also means they can deal with some of the more unpredictable issues before the busy summer season. There are plenty of predictable issues that can be accounted for in the development of a park like this. However, there is really no telling what a tourist may do. Opening the park in March when it's a bit less busy means they can start fixing up those issues in time for the summer. Same thing with crowd control. There's no telling just how crowded this park may be when it first opens. With a few months to spare at the beginning, Universal could start accounting for the crowds now to improve ride operations and avoid overcrowding in certain areas of the park. By the summer, everything should be running a bit smoother, making for higher guest satisfaction. Still, there could be issues with opening early as well. Let's go back to the ride operations for a bit. With all the people that will likely be visiting this resort, this park needs to be running as reliably as possible. New rides have a tendency to be unreliable, let alone an entire park of them. While Universal has tried to keep it relatively safe, there's no telling what will happen once the park is actually open. Tiana's Bayou Adventure, as an example, has already seen a fair amount of technical issues during the past few preview days, despite being a retheme of an already existing ride. Even if many of these roller coasters and dark rides are iterative of existing ones, they still need to be tested as thoroughly as possible to make sure the park can deal with the insane amount of crowds. Opening the park before these rides are fully ready could lead to negative press and poor customer satisfaction. I don't think Universal will make this mistake though. The coasters are already testing this early, and we can assume the dark rides are probably testing as well. However, it's something to consider in a decision like this. So, with all that said, when could this park actually open? As I mentioned, there are a ton of factors involved, so it's hard to say for sure. For me though, I'm gonna stick with my gut and say May 2025. This seems like a solid time to get the park open, right before summer really gets going, but enough time to make sure the park is ready to go. I would expect previews to start a bit before that as well, with cast member previews potentially beginning as soon as April. Hopefully, there should be some annual pass holder previews as well, although if they do happen, it will probably be around a week or two before the park opens. I'd also expect there to be some sort of reservation system in order to help any overcrowding issues. Now, I want to clarify that that's just a guess on my part. Not even an educated guess really, just a guess. Still, to me, it seems about the right time for Universal to consider opening this new resort. I could very well be wrong here, but I just wanted to throw my hat in the ring. But what do you think? Be sure to tell me in the comments down below, and check out this video to see my ranking of every ride at Universal Studios Hollywood. Thanks so much for watching, subscribe for more theme park videos, and I'll see you next time.